Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy Evolutions, and today, guys, we got to talk about MultiVersus. Season 3 is coming to an end shortly, I believe in like 10 days, maybe even less, depending on when this video comes out. But yeah, Season 4 is right around the corner, and I believe we already know that we're getting Marceline and possibly Raven. I don't think Raven was confirmed, but I do know that Marceline is definitely like 99.9% confirmed, which is cool. But yeah, I wanted to talk about like this season and what I thought about it and what they can improve on or what they should keep doing or anything like that. We're also going to talk about season 4, what I expect, what I think would be a cool addition, what I feel like PFG should focus on. So getting started with season 3, I feel like season 3 was good, and then with the 3.5 update, I felt like they were going in the right direction. We got a little glimpse of the shields. I personally like the shields. I didn't use them too much, but I did hear some things and see some things like Morty's armor breaking move being able to hit from the front and back, and stuff like that. There has been a lot of cheese. I don't think PFG is intentionally having this cheese in the game. I just feel like the community, the players, they're finding these things and they're exploiting them, which is, you can't really knock them. At the end of the day, this is a competitive game, so there's going to be people who do whatever it takes to win, and then there's people that, you know, don't really do exploits and they play a little bit more honest. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't take advantage of these exploits, like the tech roll mechanic. The tech roll mechanic, it's not necessarily an exploit, but certain characters have combos that you can just do your jab attack and the down tilt and then forward dodge and then do it again, and then when they tech roll you can read them. I personally believe that the tech roll, the mechanic is good, the intention is good, it's just that it's too slow. It's too easy to read the tech roll. You don't even have to react to it. Your reaction could be way off, and then you could just do something last minute and you'll still get the hit. You'll still get rewarded, and it's like, yeah, you want to be able to tech roll your opponent, but at the same time I feel like sometimes I whiff an attack and then I can still like catch it if I'm quick enough. I feel like the window to catch a tech roll is too open. And at the end of the day, like, yes, you're an advantage, but that mechanic is to help players get away. And yes, you do have to get rewarded for making the right read, but there should be a smaller window. The read should be you guessing correctly, not you seeing something and then acting upon it, because that's not really fair, especially if the mechanic is intended for the person getting comboed to get away. Like, it's kind of counterproductive. You kind of put them in a situation where they're gonna get comboed no matter what, and that's pretty much what's been happening. Like, you got people spamming. Beetlejuice has a string where he can just spam into a tech roll situation and then reset you. Superman, Garnet has it. I myself use it. I try not to use it all the time, just because I know it's super cheesy and I don't want to rely on something that for the most part should get patched, and it's probably going to get patched. That's something that I do have a problem with, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I just think it's something that's like, hey, this is kind of cheesy. Like, it'd be good if they fix that, because a lot of people abuse it just to catch up when they're down stocks or to just extend a big lead. It's kind of cheesy. It's not really adding any variety to gameplay. It's just very black and white. The next thing I want to talk about is Powerpuff Girls and how they were rolled out. So I do understand that the signature perk was really broken. It was basically like an infinite, which I do get. They needed to take out the signature perk, but at the end of the day, it's like, who's testing these characters and looking out for these cheesy mechanics to be a thing? Like, who's in charge of that? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's almost like, I don't want to say no one kind of double checked, but it's like, damn, like, the exploit was found so fast that it happened the same day. Like, I personally didn't get to use that little glitch or whatever, that bug, but it got removed like the same day, which, you know, kudos to PFG, you know, getting rid of it instantly, good. But at the same time, it wasn't that hard to find. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't that hard to find, and that leads me to believe, like, that the dev should have found that, or they should have saw that. But that's neither here nor there. What ended up happening was Powerpuff Girls got nerfed, and then they got nerfed besides the signature perk. They got nerfed because people were complaining that they were broken, so she got nerfed. And then people started complaining that because of the nerfs, they were trash. Myself included. I said she was trash, and ever since she was broken before the nerf, other than the signature perk, which I do agree, that is a very solid nerf. But then nerfing the character, mind you, they're already new, so you nerf a character that's already new, and then people don't want to play the character because you nerf the character and they're not really fun to use. And then when people complain that they're not really fun to use and that they need a buff, you buff them. So it's like, okay, you nerf the character and then you buff the character. Or you buff the character. Sorry, I'm getting it mixed up. You nerf the character, then buff the character, right? So it's like, it's inconsistent. It's inconsistent, and it says that you listen to the community regardless if they're wrong or right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's almost like the customer is always right. You know what I'm saying? Which, in certain businesses, yeah, you can use that, but let's be for real. Like, the customer is not always right. The community is not always right. The community is super divided. The environment that's been created lately is overall pretty toxic. Like, people just wish the worst on the game. They say the game's dead. If you watch my streams, you have trolls that come in the stream and just talk a lot of trash. You know, people can say whatever they want to say, but overall the community is very toxic, and I just feel like people like to complain rather than to find solutions. It's easier to go on Twitter and complain than to find a solution for a matchup, right? I think that needs to stop, and what I mean by that is listening to the community and not really doing research or not fact checking or not doing like a poll. Like, there's not even a poll. Like, oh, should we nerf this character? It's just like, oh, we see a lot of comments about this, let's go ahead and listen to them. Where there's another part of the community that doesn't even go on Twitter. They don't even bother going on Twitter. They don't even know that Twitter exists or whatever. That they're perfectly fine with the character. They learn the matchup. Yeah, it's a hard matchup, but at the end of the game, at the end of the day, that's how fighting games are. That's kind of like the world that fighting games exist in. Like, there's certain matchups that are hard, and there's certain characters that are better than others, yes. But that doesn't mean that you need to nerf the character just because the character is hard to go against, right? Sometimes it's just a bad matchup. And I guarantee you that not everyone is really trying their best to learn the matchups. It's way easier to complain because, I'm not gonna lie, any devs that are watching this, any reps of PFG, I feel like the community is kind of spoiled, you know? Rather than putting that good old-fashioned hard work into learning a matchup, people just go ahead and go complain, and then it'll get nerfed, and then they win the matchup through the devs. Which is kind of like, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. I never experienced a game like that. I grew up with fighting games that, you know, there is no nerf. It is what it is. Marvel vs. Capcom 2, when it came on the PS2, we all know there's infinites, all this BS in the game. There's no nerfs, there's no patches, nothing. You just got to deal with it and get better. Granted, these are infinite, so it's way further, bigger exploits. But then you got games like Street Fighter 4, you had to wait for a whole game for it to be updated. A whole game. Because they had Street Fighter 4, then Ultra Street Fighter 4, and then Arcade Edition. You had to wait for a whole game for patches. So it's like, back in the day, man, they were different, bro. You just had to be different to be good at fighting games. You had to learn the matchup. There's no crying, nothing. You hate the matchup? Cool, pick a different character. Like, I've main Harley. I have a pocket Garnet. I have a pocket Powerpuff Girls. I use Samurai Jack. You have to use other characters for matchups. That's the beauty of fighting games. Like, it's like rock, paper, scissors. Okay, Garnet, for example, right now on screen. Garnet versus Agent Smith. So Agent Smith's jab is really, really annoying to get around, especially as Garnet because she's so damn thick. You know what I'm saying? No, but she has a big hitbox, so it's really hard. But if you space yourself and you kind of play on the whiffs or abuse the armor that Garnet has, you can kind of make your way and kind of, you know, steal some stocks away. I think this is a very good matchup for Agent Smith just because Garnet can be combo food, not for nothing. But like I said, you just gotta learn the matchup and then you'll be good. And that's what makes fighting games fun. Like, part of it is the struggle, man. Part of it, you can't deny the struggle, man. If you want to really get good at a fighting game, you have to go through that struggle. You have to go through the fire and really get good. So I think PFG needs to like address that. Like, stop listening to just the crybabies. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least make a poll. Like, make a poll of all the characters, like biggest character issues, or which character has the most severe issues, or which character is the most broken, or which character do you feel like needs a nerf, or whatever. It should be like a poll or something like that before we do nerfs on like the 5 people that are just super loud on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? No, noise does not mean progress. You know what I'm saying? Noise does not mean factuals, or noise does not equal facts. You know what I'm saying? If people are just crying, let them cry. You know what I'm saying? Let them figure the matchup get good. You know what I'm saying? But also, I do understand that there are some characters that did need a nerf. And this leads me to my next point. There are characters that do need nerfs, but I feel like these characters, it could be my opinion, characters like Taz, they lasted in the game way too long with the stupid tactics and the stupid tendencies. Like that side special on Taz, it took so long for it to get nerfed, and it's like, guys, like, you guys are so focused on like the other things on Twitter, you're not really focused on like the reality of MultiVersus. Like, Taz was a problem and plaguing ranked for months, and he wasn't even touched, he wasn't even addressed, but the real players, they knew that this character was one of the main problems. So I just think that we need to pick the right characters to nerf or buff and really focus on the bad characters, because if there's more good characters than bad characters, then the game feels more balanced overall. The shields, I know I spoke a little bit about it, but I want to talk about just countering lame gameplay, countering the zoning gameplay, because if I'm being honest, I come from playing Mortal Kombat where there was Jackie Briggs, Centurion in Mortal Kombat 11 just spamming you, but then there was tools that you can get around it, and MKX you can run, that way you can close the gap a little bit better. You had characters, every character has somewhat of a counter zoning button or special move, right? So you wouldn't be able to just zone. And I get it. Garnet has the anti-projectile shield. I get it. But also, it takes a long time for it to activate. I'm not saying it needs to activate quicker. I'm just saying that something needs to be done with the cooldowns on the zoning. I should not have to be playing Marvin's game the whole match. I should not have to do that. I think it's crazy. I think Marvin is just super cheap with the zoning, and then bugs, and it's just ultimately like, it's just characters that are forced into a corner of zoning, right? You got your Velmas, you got your Mortys, and it's like these characters, they can't do anything other than play like this. And it's like, because they were nerfed into a corner, they were nerfed into this playstyle. They were just nerfed, and that, at the end of the day, whether, you know, the devs like it or not, I'm talking to you, the devs directly, whether you guys like it or not, it's something you guys have to take accountability for. Like, you created this, you know what I'm saying? Like, you guys created this gameplay, this game style, this strategy. You guys created it because you guys are in charge of the balancing, right? So whatever is wrong with the game, you guys have to take accountability and ultimately fix it. There has to be a universal tool to counter mage gameplay, and I know that's going to be the shields, but at the same breath, I can already see like the mages abusing the shield, just zoning and then sitting and shielding. I get it, I'm already ready for that, but I do think adding shields is a step in the right direction, because characters like Marvin, Tom and Jerry, like, it's just not fun. You know what I'm saying? It's just not fun, and the fact that this has been like a problem for a while now, it's finally getting addressed, so better late than never. But it's just like, man, like, I don't have a problem with losing. It's just losing when I don't have tools to equip myself for battle. That's when I have a problem. It's like, wow, I don't have a tool, so I can't stop this. And in ranked, you can't switch characters. And I'm not saying, oh, you should be able to switch characters in ranked. That would be cool, but I don't think that's necessarily the solution. I just think that there should be a universal ability to counter it, and that's going to be shields, which is great. It's just, I don't like how long it takes for the important things to be dealt with or addressed, but it's so fast that you guys drop characters super fast, right? And these characters, like majority of the players, they pay for it. So it's like, you guys are, it almost seems like you guys are focused on one thing rather than the other, and I don't want that to be true. I don't think it's true, but that's what it looks like, because at the end of the day, it's not like you could talk to the whole community one by one. They're gonna go based off what it looks like, not really what it is, right? That's just how it is. Like they see that it feels like this. If it looks like a snake, if it walks like a snake, if it talks like a snake, it's a snake, right? So I just feel like things need to be addressed very quickly. And I think that, believe it or not, like I like that you guys are adding new characters, but I also feel like sometimes like that's not really gonna fix anything, right? There's still a lot of issues. I feel like adding a new character is just shocking the player count, which is good. You're shocking the player count, but then, you know, it's almost predictable that the player count goes right back down after like a week. Nubia was good, but she was slow. It seems like you guys are just scared of releasing a character because you guys are traumatized by characters like Powerpuff Girls or Samurai Jack, right? Samurai Jack was a problem, and rightfully so. He was nerfed. He was fixed, right? But if you know fighting games, you know that the new characters tend to be the most broken because one, you don't know the matchup, and two, they're new, so they're not really tested. They're not tested at all via the players, right? So that's kind of where you get your incentive to buy the character, believe it or not. You know, you just dropping a really good character that could be a problem. People complain about just dropping that character. There has to be an incentive to play this character because, like, when I got Powerpuff Girls, I bought the character with my hard-earned money, and then the character wasn't that good. I'm just like, what's the point of buying this character if there's no incentive? Like, this character's not good at all. So it's like, it's almost like a ripoff. Like, I wait this long. Powerpuff Girls have been wanted in the game for months, and then when the character comes out, they're bad. It's like, man, come on. There has to be an incentive to buy these characters. Spend money. You guys want money? Make it worthwhile. Make it worthwhile, right? And I just think, you know, quality over quantity is a big thing that I want to see in MultiVersus. I want to see good patch notes. I don't want to just see half-assed patch notes or patch notes that are just like pointless. Or I don't want to see a character just drop and then they get nerfed immediately. That doesn't make any sense because what you're doing is you're releasing a half-made character just because you want the cash grab, and that's what it seems like. It's not fair to the community, and not for nothing, the community of MultiVersus isn't that big, so it's like something you shouldn't really take for granted, right? People like me making content on this game every week and streaming to a community that loves MultiVersus. So I just feel like, you know, the same way, you know, small businesses, you know, they thrive in customer service and they thrive on that, you know, one-on-one relationship with like the owners and stuff. I think that's how you guys should take it. But at the end of the day, like, balance is everything, right? You can't just attend to everyone's crying about nerfs or whatever. So that's one thing. Like, you guys gotta really make the characters worthwhile. You can't just release a character then nerf a character. It's just like, well, why, if the character's getting nerfed this fast, then why were they released, right? It's like you release a game half made and then you add patch notes to like complete the game. It's like, that's a little sus. And like the last thing I want to talk about is, this is more so to the community, you guys, the viewers. I just feel like if you don't like the game, just don't watch it. If you don't like the game, just don't watch it. It's not cool to go into streams and say, yo, this game's trash, or like Brawlhalla ripoff. Because like at the end of the day, like, one, I guarantee you, like, on the large scheme of things, like, that is just lame. Like, if you go into streams and say that, that's just corny. Like, I don't care if it seems like I'm salty. I just think that's super corny. And like, do you really not have anything better to do? Like, you're choosing to be toxic over a game that's not dead and it's not a ripoff of Brawlhalla, and you're just saying that just because it's like popular to say right now. I just think that's super lame. I think we need to stop being toxic and be more welcoming and inclusive with the newer players. I get that a lot of these players, you know, a lot of the content creators are good at the game, and you know, I'm very familiar with the competitive scene for fighting games. A lot of people have egos get involved. People just start, you know, like the trash talking, you know. But I just feel like we as a community have to do better and come together and really protect our game, because if you really think about it, man, who would have thought Garnet and Bugs Bunny are fighting in a platform fighter game? Who would have thought Like we get Batman versus the Joker in a platform fighting game, or Superman versus Taz, or Harley Quinn versus Steven Universe. Like we would have never thought any of that. So like we're very fortunate that, you know, PFG is making this game possible, and not only that, they're releasing characters. We got Powerpuff Girls. That's insane. Like when was the last time Powerpuff Girls showcased themselves in a video game? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, man, like we really can't take this for granted, man. Like I know for a fact that like years from now, like we'll look back and Multiverse will be like that one game like back in the day, how like Club Penguin one was, or like those OG retro nostalgia games that were way ahead of the time. This is a game that is ahead of its time, and we're experiencing that game right now. So I just feel like, you know, rather than hating on the game, man, just appreciate the game for what it is, man. Yeah, it's a niche game right now. It's not as big as Smash Bros. by any means, but it's thriving in its own domain for sure, and there's no denying it. But yeah, I just wanted to get on here and do a quick yap, just talk about how I feel about Multiverses. If you have any ideas, I'm sure I could go on and on, but this will be an hour-long video. Ultimately, I love Multiverses. I love that it has given me an opportunity to, you know, get a lot of views, to get monetized on YouTube, to build a community. This is all because of Multiverses. I'm forever grateful. And there's days where, yeah, I talk a lot of trash about Multiverses. I come for the devs and I get a little tilted, I'm not gonna lie, but it's all coming from a place of love, because I want to see Multiverses do better, because it's giving me an opportunity to create content to a community. You know what I'm saying? And I think if you're fortunate enough to like have a community, you should definitely like protect your game, and always remember like the game that not really made you, but the game that gave you the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's just my 2 cents. If anyone has any questions, or if anyone wants to talk about how they feel about Multiverses or anything, yeah, definitely leave a comment. Make sure you like this video, share this video with your friends. Let's get a conversation rolling. We could hop into Discord. The Discord will be in the link down below, and we just yap it up about you know, what we want to see in Multiverse, what we like in Multiverses, and what we can do to kind of bring the community together. I do have some ideas, like a tournament. I do want to host a special tournament, you know, not just like a regular tournament. I want it to be like a very unique tournament, High Evolutions tournament. You know what I'm saying? I got a few ideas, but yeah, that's it for the video. Appreciate you guys. I'll see y'all later.